Hello, YouTube viewer. Hello, my Belle Fleurs. Gwen is my name. It's part of my witch game.
What's going on, Belle Fleurs? Welcome back.
Hello, my Belle Fleurs.
Hello, Belle Fleurs. Welcome back. Starting this intro a bit differently today. My name is Jenn, also known as the Belle Fleur Guinevere, and I am an alcoholic. So obviously Gwen is not wearing a wig today, so I thought maybe I would go ahead and just be myself. The wigs will come back, don't worry, but I wanted to tell my story just as the way that I am. And I'm very comfortable in my own skin. I just like putting on the wigs. It was kind of helping me get out of the broom closet, so to speak. But anyway, Monday I celebrated 3 years in recovery, and I get to celebrate all month long in the month of July. So that is not with alcohol or any drugs included. Drugs was never my problem. The alcohol was my part of my problem. So I thought maybe I'd go ahead and share a bit of my story with you. Maybe if there's somebody who stumbles across this. It is a time where things are very uncertain. I have been telling friends in the program and close friends, I believe that the world is on fire. But the saving grace is that I have a program today that I was introduced to when I walked into the rooms of a 12-step recovery program. I did not go into treatment. Some people do. There's nothing wrong with that. We all find this journey along the way somehow, one way or the other. And so my sobriety date is 7/6/17. I actually got sober in my home group in Katy, Texas. And I started drinking pretty heavily when I got into college. I was about 18, 19 years old. And to keep a long story short, I drank to escape the problems I had with the relationship with my mother. I drank because my dad was sick, and he was ill with cancer, terminally ill. And my relationship with my now husband, boyfriend at the time, and along with that, it was my first time alone out in college, and trying to deal with class load and everything else that I have problems with. So I was just not mentally prepared for that phase that I was in. So my first time that I ever got drunk, I was living in the dorm in college, and I was with a roommate of mine who was from the Valley, and I was very socially awkward. I thought maybe I felt different automatically, and I was going through a hard time. It seemed like 100 miles away, my mom and I just could not get along, and I was severely depressed. So one night, my roommate, I had just gotten off the phone with my mother yet again, and I was crying, and this had been going on for a couple weeks. And so finally one day, not to put the blame on my roommate then at the time, just a part of my story, she said, "What are you doing tonight?" I was like, "Well, I'm going to stay here and bawl my eyes out." And she said, "No, we're going to a party, get dressed, and you're coming with me. We're going to go get drunk." And I was like, "Well, I don't think I've ever been drunk." And she's like, "Well, you're going to learn today." So I went. It was a college party. So the first party that I went to was a college party off campus, and it was a lot of her friends that she knew. Most of them were kind of like either junior, senior years already in college. So I went and I got drunk. And I just remember liking the way that I felt like this is how I have a good time. This is how I forget my problems. This is how I can stop what my mother is telling me in my head, and replaying the tape kind of thing. Whatever problems that I had with my husband at the time, we were fighting long distance, even though he was going to be going back to that school in a few months. So, but I liked the way that I felt. But at the end of the night, I got really sick, and I didn't even really care that I was sick. The only thing I cared about was that I got nicknamed Ralphie the rest of the night, and it only just added more fuel to the fire for me to want to get better at drinking and hold my liquor, and I didn't want to be called Ralphie anymore. So, again, I drank a lot in college. My dad was getting worse. Somewhat of the relationship with my mom had been kind of repaired because my father was dying. And I have to say, alcoholism is a very silent disease. We don't know that it could grab us at any time. It does run in my family. And the thing is that the idea, from what I thought when I came in, it was a lot of people who have gone to jail, they have DWIs, they can't hold a job, they are bums that live under a bridge and they drink beer out of a paper bag, or Mad Dog 20, 40, whatever, and that's not what an alcoholic looks like. An alcoholic looks like me. And it's really to the point of how far are you willing to go to keep digging the hole that you're in to say where I have had enough. And I was really drinking like a fish in my 20s and 30s. And now I'm 34. I'll be 35 at the end of this year. And it's been 3 years since the last time I have picked up my last drink, which was around this time in July. My last drinking bender, at that point I had been having a lot of anxiety and panic attacks. I had the best job, but I was almost losing it. My marriage, I had almost lost it because of alcohol within the first year. And it seemed like it was happening again after 3 years of marriage with my drinking. It was constantly every night. I would go out for happy hours with coworkers. Even though I thought the marriage was going great, it wasn't. My husband was letting me have my time. I would invite him along just to make sure everything was okay, because this is how we have a good time. We don't do anything else. And so July 3rd of 3 years ago, I was at a friend of mine's house. She was having a party and with her husband at the time. And also I had a prescription for Xanax. And I would only take those as prescribed when I felt an onset of panic attacks coming, so I did not take them as frequent. But between that and my anxiety medications that I did take daily, it's not a good mix. And I mean, I'm telling you, when the bottle says do not consume with alcohol, you just don't. But I do know that probably within a time frame, within a few days, I still had Xanax in my system and I was starting to black out. I was hiding my drinking. It's not that I was sitting with liquor bottles in my closet and drinking by myself and sneaking it around. It was more of, well, I can't do that at home. I'll go ahead and just go to the bar by myself and drink. And then that way, if I come home, I can only tell my husband I just had to. Only had to. So, but he knew it wasn't just two, and I knew it wasn't just two. And it got really out of hand. So I don't really remember much from my last bender because I had blacked out. But I do remember the next morning of July 4th where my husband was so furious with me. And I got mad at him because I was an angry person. I felt like I felt like I couldn't do anything right. Everything was falling apart. My life had become unmanageable at that point. And I had decided that, well, I can't change him and he's not going to change me. Maybe I just need to go to my mom's and just move there. And just move back home. And maybe we might talk about divorce or therapy or something like that because it's just not working out. And I mean, I've been with this man. We've grown up together. And I'm not saying that I went into the rooms to save my marriage. It was a part of the reason. So I spent that night at my mom's. She had offered me a drink and I had to go to work the next day. It was actually a lot closer than where I was living, to the office. And I thought about going to an AA meeting that Thursday, and I couldn't make it. I came home, I talked to my husband, and he said, I don't have a problem with you drinking, it's just you don't know when to stop. And I didn't know when to quit. I just really liked the way that I felt. And I was in my own little world, and alcohol would just kind of step in and be like, you know what, like things are going wrong, like I can make it feel better. And I believed it, and it just, I was like, well, if I don't have to give it up altogether, maybe I can go ahead and do this. So that Friday after work, I had asked if I could leave early because I was wondering if I could make an appointment to go to. Didn't tell them what it was, but I left and I made it to a 5 o'clock meeting. It was very small, and I went in, and a few people there, they're sitting there, and they said, what's your name? I said, my name's Jenn. Well, Jenn, do you have a desire to stop drinking? I'm like, stop altogether? And they're like, yeah. I was like, oh, I thought if I came in here, y'all would teach me how to moderate my drinking. And they're like, no, we don't teach y'all that. So I listened to what other people had to say. It was still kind of foggy at that point, but I listened. I identified with a lot that people had to say, but predominantly in that meeting, it was mostly males. And then there was one woman. She's a friend of mine to this day. She was very nice. I got a desire chip. I still have one to this day. Not the original though, but I gave it to somebody else that needed one in the program, and I gave it to them, and I got another one just to have the desire chip because I like it. And I do remember her telling me at the end of that meeting to keep coming back. And she said, my second meeting is going to be my most important meeting. And I went in, it was a women's meeting at 11, and the room was full of women, and hearing their stories, I got to share again. I cried. What happened, things that I remembered and why I felt the way that I did, it was kind of like scratching the surface, okay? But when I look back at it now, it was a cry for attention that I was hurting. I was in the right place, but the thing is, it's, yes, you have all these terrible things that happen to you, but what do you want to do about it to fix it? So the longer I stayed in the rooms, I realized I had made my life unmanageable, and adding alcohol to it was fuel to the fire. Part of step 2 is coming to believe in a power greater than myself. And I was running on self-will and full-on ego. I still have all those things, but it's the matter of keeping it in check when I see these things happen and I know there's something stirring up inside of me. So I think probably within a couple weeks of being in the program, probably like the second weekend, I came home and again, no disrespect to anyone. You could be very strong in religion, you might not be. You could be atheist, agnostic, whatever. And I came home. I was raised Catholic, and I come home and I tell my husband, you know, I'm not sure if AA is going to work out for me. And he says, well, why? And I said, well, there's a lot of God talk, you know, for people who meet up as a group, and then it's like, oh, well, this higher being's supposed to take care of everything. And so at that point of being sober for 2 weeks, having the conversation with my husband and telling him where my head was at, he said, well, why not give it a try? I mean, you've been sober for a couple weeks, which you haven't been able to string that together by yourself, so why not try it? And I was kind of shocked that he said that, and I said, okay, I think I can. So I went ahead and I stuck around, and I made the decision to turn my will and my life over to a higher power that I understood. And I can say in my time in the program, over time it has evolved. Again, I have come out and said that I am a witch. I just had a conversation with someone yesterday in the program who I found out she is on a spiritual path herself, and she has been a practitioner for like the last 40 years, and she is in the program. And my definition of a higher power or God has grown every single year. And I like it. It's beyond my comprehension or understanding, but I get to know what this higher being is, and knowing myself in the process and the way that they made me or designed me or created me to be. So it's really cool when I put that aside. And the book that we use, we call it the Big Book, Alcoholics Anonymous. It says it in one of the stories with one of the co-founders. It's why don't you choose a God of your own understanding? You can look at God as an abbreviation for good, orderly direction, because at that point I didn't really have any. I was spiritually corrupt and bankrupt. I did not have any morals at that point either. I did mention before regarding alcoholism running in my family. I have mentioned that I don't think I have mentioned it in videos, but I have two dads. I have one that's my biological father, and one that was my mom's second marriage, and he was an alcoholic. And my mom had talked about many drinking stories about him, about crazy things he would do, almost losing the house. And so yes, not only is alcoholism affecting the person that is consuming the alcohol, it also affects the family members as well. So there's the effects there of codependency with my mother. Same thing that goes on with my husband as well. And just checking it and catching it and finding some sort of compromise. But working for a common goal would be better. So unfortunately, her second husband had passed away at the age of maybe 38 or 39. And he was one of us. And he just could not quit. But I figured because most of my stories weren't as bad, like I didn't go to jail, I didn't do any of those things, I wasn't that bad. But I was. Backgrounds can be very different, but the hellhole that is in your head can really, It is the dark corners of your mind, my friend, and it's painful. And I'm so glad that I don't have to be afraid of it today. I have a program that shows me my part on certain things of that could have been so horrible that happened. So I did a video regarding shadow work with step 4, and that is a part of the program. And it's looking at, why am I feeling this way? Why do I hate this person so much? Why am I so resentful? What am I afraid of? And really getting down to it and really looking at it, because I love to blame you for the problem. It's not me, it's you. And you know what? I'm okay being wrong today. I'm okay if you want to blame it on me. It's okay. Like, I get it. I'm not perfect. And I thought I had to be. But we cannot define perfection. We cannot define normal. Anything. All of the definitions are different. So, I did the steps with my sponsor. I did what was recommended. I gave my will and my life over to a higher power. I got a sponsor. I went to meetings. And I'm still working on my amends part. Working on my amends part of what I can do. And sometimes that list just keeps on growing. But I do know if there are things that eventually they keep coming up, I know I have to work on them. This program, you have to use, you have to be open-minded, rigorous honesty, and the willingness to do this thing. Because if you're just going to put in a half-ass effort, it's not going to work. And there have been times where I've gotten very comfortable and said, you know what, I've got this. But as soon as that thought comes back, it's like, ooh, maybe I'm not a real alcoholic. Maybe I could go back and try it out. And I know I can't. Because if I do, I will pick up where I've left off. I've listened to the stories of other people in the rooms of where they left off. And it's never good. Some of us don't make it back. And I want to. I've realized how great of a gift this is every single day. This being 3 years later, every year has been something. Now, more so than ever, my husband and I, we have been graced with the gift of, we've been married for 8 years. And now we have our 15-year-old niece living with us. And I never thought I'd wake up one morning. My husband and I do not have kids of our own. And we seem okay enough to take on taking care of somebody else. I would not have been able to do that if I was drunk all the time. New doors have opened. I'm not afraid, obviously, coming out into the world and sharing my story. Not hiding behind a wig like I used to. I used to hide behind wigs all the time. And then when I got sober, I'd put them on. I felt like I was getting hives because it reminded me of a time where I was hiding and I didn't want to. But I've learned to make peace with them. And because they are fun. And I like them. And my husband and I are great. The relationship I have with my mother is great. I realized out of all of this, the things that I threw away when I had mentioned college. I did college for 5 years and I did not graduate. And that was hard. That's hard. But with the mindset that I have now, I did consider going back to school. Crazy times right now. Probably not the best time with everything going on. But I do know things do happen for a reason. But I am open to the idea of the things that I know now, having lived an adult life. I might know how to handle a great opportunity that was given to me. So, just wanted to share that with you. If you are struggling and thinking that maybe you could be or you might not be, it doesn't hurt to just look. It is scary, but it's the most rewarding thing ever. I'm still active in my fellowship, not so much my home group, but I do go to other groups in the Houston/Katy area. And this is a debt that I could never repay in my entire lifetime. I sponsor, I do volunteer where I can, and I have learned quite a bit, and I'm still learning. So as long as I don't say that I know it all, then I know I am okay, and I'm okay with that today. This program, I just thought about it. This program has really gotten me to learn to love and accept myself for who I am. I did not like myself for a very long time. And again, hence, don't really care if you like me or not. If you like me, great. If not, that's okay too, boo. Like, I still wish you all the love in the world. Sometimes people just don't jive together, and that's okay. And I mentioned codependency, like about my mom, and it's codependency in a nutshell. It's more to it than this, but I always kind of feel like you're trying to get your self-worth out from other people, and that is not the way to go, my friend. It goes into people pleasing and not honoring yourself, and pointless relationships that maybe shouldn't even started to begin with. And I did not have any respect for myself, none. And I do have that today. My husband was not the problem. I am the problem. But now that I do know that I am the problem, I can fix that to not be so problematic. I am just really grateful. Those dark corners in your mind when you deal with depression and anxiety, it's really hard. And I can't even imagine wanting to go back into that dark place. So I deal with those monsters head on. And I know that there is something bigger than me out there because of my own personal experience. I have tried to end it myself a couple times. And one time I was in the car and I thought about smashing my car into a tree. Because I just wanted the world to stop for a minute and have a rest, not hurt anybody, just hurt myself. And this little voice, when I really thought about pushing on the gas, said, "Jen, don't do that today." And I didn't. And so from then on, the more that I opened my eyes and I paid attention to the program of where was a higher power in all of this, it was absolutely there. I don't have to suffer in silence anymore. This program has really been there. And I want to give it back, because if I don't, I will be the biggest thief in the room. The biggest asset that we have as human beings is time. And for someone to take the time freely and willingly to spend time on you to get better, that is compassion, and not taking it for granted. And yeah, I always enjoy doing that. I don't know what else to say. But in a nutshell, I left out a lot of the drinking stuff going on because, again, we call them war stories in the rooms. And they're really not that important. We can talk about it day in and day out, but the important thing is I wanted to show you what an alcoholic looks like. There is no difference. I have a house, I am married, but I just don't drink today. And I don't have to if I don't want to. So, part of this witch journey for me, and incorporating it into sobriety has helped me tremendously. I am a seeker. I like to learn, and be willing and open-minded. Again, but I had to get down and be honest. I had to be honest. So if anybody out there is thinking they might have a problem, it doesn't hurt to try. It doesn't cost you anything. There really is no, what's the word I'm looking for? There's really no, like, what's the catch kind of thing. It just works. It just works.
So I put a disclaimer in the front, and I will say it again. I am just one of many. I am not speaking on behalf of the 12-step recovery program because it is about attraction rather than promotion. Again, since we are in pandemic time, there might be a lot of people who are looking to hear someone's story and you get to see my face. I guess I am no longer anonymous, but that is okay. There's times where I want to shout it from the rooftop, but we don't recommend that. But I cannot express enough gratitude for this program saving my life. And it's been 85 years for this program being around. And that's a huge testament. I enjoy every minute of it. I enjoy it so much I tattooed it on my arm with the symbol. And I have a butterfly here with a lady's name, Shelley. She passed away sober, but she went peacefully in her sleep. And she was one of my friends. And yeah, it's a family that I chose, and at the same time we do have family members in this program that we get attached to, and they leave, and we just don't know what our time is going to be like. So here I am crying. But again, it's utmost gratitude, and that is my responsibility for anyone else who is suffering, for me to extend the hand and say, let me help you. And because you are worthy and you are supposed to be here. So feel free to please reach out to me. I am on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And yeah, so I guess incorporating with sobriety and magic, it's just to let y'all know that you don't have to choose a one chosen path into thinking that A or the 12 steps or any other recovery program is religious. It's not. It is a spiritual program. So do not let the God talk scare you. And you are not alone. And yeah. So I always find it good to just talk about, to remind myself and to share what it was like so I don't forget. Because we alcoholics are undisciplined. And yeah, so I am going to leave this here, my Belle Fleurs. But yes, please reach out and get help if you need it. It's life-changing. So may your higher power bless you and keep you until next time. I love you, my Belle Fleurs, and peace, love, and light to you. Mwah. Bye.